The sound of your raised voice is doing something to your baby that you have probably never thought about. Not the words you're saying, not who's right or wrong. The actual tension in the room is landing in your baby's nervous system in a way that shapes them more than you know. Once you understand what is actually happening inside your baby's mind during a disagreement, you will handle conflict around them completely differently. Welcome to GrowNest, where we go past what your baby does and into what they are actually thinking and feeling. Before we start, subscribe if you have not already. Let's go. The first thing to understand is that a baby's stress response system activates during conflict long before they understand a single word. Researchers studying infant physiological reactivity have found that babies as young as a few months old show measurable changes in heart rate and cortisol when exposed to tense or angry adult voices, even when the argument has nothing to do with them. Your baby cannot understand the content of the disagreement, but their body registers the emotional charge in the room almost instantly. This means a baby doesn't need to comprehend a single sentence to be affected by it. The tone alone is enough to trigger a real physiological shift. Calm one moment, activated the next. The second thing is about tone sensitivity and how finely tuned your baby's ear already is to emotional pitch. Developmental psychologists have found that infants can distinguish angry speech patterns from neutral or happy ones well before their first birthday, responding to pitch, volume, and sharpness rather than words. When your voice rises and tightens during an argument, your baby is not confused by the sound. They are correctly identifying it as a signal of conflict. This is part of why babies often startle or freeze during raised voice exchanges, even when nothing is thrown, slammed, or physically dramatic. The sound itself carries the message. The third thing, and this is where it gets genuinely fascinating, is about what happens physiologically inside your baby during ongoing exposure to household tension. Studies measuring infant stress hormones in homes with frequent parental conflict have found elevated baseline cortisol levels compared to infants in calmer households, even outside of active arguments. A tense home is not just a difficult atmosphere for adults, it is a genuine biochemical environment for your baby's developing stress system, one that can shape how easily their body returns to a calm baseline over time. This is why occasional disagreement handled well looks very different, physiologically, from chronic unresolved tension that lingers in the background of daily life. If GrowNest is giving you something real, take a second to subscribe. We put out new science every few days. The fourth thing is about why babies watch your face so intently during and after a disagreement. Researchers who study infant social referencing have found that babies look to a caregiver's expression to determine how to feel about an ambiguous or uncertain situation, essentially checking in to see if things are safe. During an argument, your baby is scanning your face for information, not about the argument's content, but about whether the world is currently okay. This is why a baby's mood can shift dramatically based on your expression in the moments right after conflict, not just during it. Your face becomes the instrument they use to measure whether the danger has passed. The fifth thing is about what happens when parents repair a disagreement in front of their baby and why this matters more than most people realize. Attachment researchers have found that babies exposed not just to conflict, but to visible resolution, a softened voice, a hug, a return to warmth, show markedly different stress recovery patterns than babies who only witness the tension without ever seeing it resolved. A baby who watches conflict end in repair is learning something essential beyond the disagreement itself. They are learning that tension is survivable and relationships can return to safety. Some researchers describe this as one of the earliest lessons of emotional resilience a child ever receives, delivered entirely without words, years before they could describe what repair even means. The sixth thing is about how babies actively work to interrupt tension once they're old enough to move and vocalize. Researchers studying infant social behavior have observed that babies will often cry, reach for a parent, or make deliberate attention-seeking sounds during moments of adult conflict, not randomly, but as an early form of emotional regulation seeking.
Your baby is not simply reacting passively to the tension in the room. They are actively trying to restore connection, using the only tools available to them. This is one of the earliest examples of a baby attempting to influence the emotional climate around them rather than just absorbing it. The seventh thing, and this is the one I most want every parent to hear, is that occasional disagreement is not the threat many parents fear it to be. The research is clear that it is not the presence of conflict that shapes a baby's development, it is the pattern of how that conflict is handled over time. You do not need a conflict-free household to raise a securely attached child. A single tense exchange, even one your baby witnesses, is not doing lasting harm on its own. What matters is the broader pattern, how often it happens, how intense it becomes, and whether repair reliably follows. This is worth remembering on the days an argument slips out in front of your baby, because it means the bar for protecting them is not perfection, it is consistency and repair. The eighth thing is about how to actually reduce the impact of conflict your baby witnesses, in practical terms. Researchers studying family conflict and child development consistently point to a few specific factors. Lowering your volume as quickly as possible, even if the disagreement continues. Visibly softening your body language toward your partner once things de-escalate. And narrating repair out loud. A simple, "we're okay now" tone of voice, even before your baby can understand the words. Babies read body language and vocal tone far more than content, so shifting those signals quickly does more protective work than trying to have a perfectly calm argument in the first place. The ninth thing is about what this adds up to over the years. Researchers who study long-term family relationships have found that children raised in homes with visible conflict resolution, rather than conflict avoidance or chronic unresolved tension, tend to develop stronger emotional regulation skills and more secure relationship patterns later in life. The disagreements you have now, and more importantly, how your baby watches you recover from them, are quietly teaching a lesson that will outlast any single argument. That relationships can hold tension and still come back to warmth. That lesson, absorbed hundreds of times before your child has language for it, becomes part of what they expect from every close relationship they build afterward. And the last thing, the 10th thing, the simplest one. If tension happens in front of your baby today, let them see the repair too. You do not need to hide every disagreement to protect your baby. You need to let them witness that people who love each other can disagree and still come back together.
Somewhere in your house, on an ordinary day, there will be a moment of tension your baby happens to witness. Let them also witness what comes after. The softened voice, the returned closeness, the sense that things are okay again. That visible repair is doing more for them than you know, calming their stress system, teaching them that conflict is survivable, and showing them that the people who love each other always find their way back to warmth. It does not need to be handled perfectly, and it does not need to be hidden. It simply needs to be real, the way it would happen anyway if they were not watching, which is, in the end, exactly what makes it mean so much. Welcome to GrowNest.